No, I don't think I will, I said. She looked at me strangely. What do you mean? Well, you mentioned that I'd be here when you got back and you'd tell me all about it, I said. I won't be here, so telling won't work. Where will you be? She asked. Elsewhere, I said. She pouted. What do you mean elsewhere? None of your business, I said. You're acting like a child, she informed me. Grow up. This is the 21st century. Things have changed. I don't doubt that you have, I agreed. I haven't changed, though. Well, I have some gray in my facial hair, but that's still me. You, on the other hand, seem to have changed considerably. It's not a good change. Very unattractive. She lowered her gaze to herself. Physically, she didn't seem to have changed. She was still a smoke show. What do you mean? She asked. Well, there is such a thing as I'm meeting someone for dinner. You informed me it was a man and refused to give me his name. That sounds like change to me. Oh. Well, it's nothing, she said. I told you I love you more than I ever have. None of this has anything to do with how I feel about you. I see. Well, I can't say the same, I told her. Explain this. An hour ago, I loved you more than I ever have, I told her. Since then, that feeling has steadily diminished with every passing moment. My feelings now lean more toward the realm of disgust than the realm of love. Her features took on an offended look. I knew it well. It's very disappointing, she said. That's life, I said. I get disappointed all the time. Yesterday on the golf course, I expected to shoot an 85, but I made 3 putts in the 11th minute and got an 87. Now she looked confused. Why are you talking about golf? It's a very frustrating game sometimes, I said. You mentioned frustrating. I just thought I should share my own anecdote with you. It's all that came to my mind. My flippant attitude irritated her, you could tell. Barnes, I'm leaving in 20 minutes, she said. I think you need to take me seriously and try to understand. Oh, I take you very seriously, I said. But that's the problem, Collins. I realized you're not a very serious person. Her pride was wounded. I suspected that she considered herself a very serious person. She owned her own business, earned almost as much as I did, was educated, independent, and beautiful. Most people, I'm sure, took her seriously. I have no idea what made you say that, she said. Barnes, I'm leaving. I know you don't like it, but you're going to see that nothing is going to change between us. I'm going to make you insanely happy. It's very selfish of me, but I have a rationale. I justify it to myself. You don't realize it, but once you do, everything will be the same for you. You're wrong, I said. What am I wrong about? She asked. You are mistaken that nothing will change. Everything will change. In fact, things have already changed, I told her. What's changed? She wondered. Well, you've changed. Your attitude toward me has changed. You have built illusions in your mind. That has changed. My attitude towards you has changed. Other things haven't changed yet, but they will. Like what? She asked. Well, first of all, what do you think Sylvia and Beck will think about their parents getting divorced? She sighed. What the hell, Barnes? What are you talking about? We're not getting a divorce, and what we do between us is none of their business. Yeah, I agree. Well, not the not getting divorced part, but the what we do between us part. Unfortunately, you're forgetting that it's not what's going on between us, but what's going on between you and some unnamed dude. I can see that you're going to complicate things, she said. Barnes, I'll set this aside and we'll sit down and work these issues out. No, we won't, I said. I'm leaving. I think this is more important than anything you have planned, she said. I'm not going to ride on something I arranged myself. I think you're going to do the same. Oh, I didn't plan anything. It just came out on its own. I just decided that a minute ago, I said. She looked like she was going to argue with me. Collins, you're too late, I told her. I don't know how late, but the moment you started thinking I was a man who would put up with your shit, the moment you lost respect for me as a man and a husband, it was too late. None of this is true, she practically shouted. I never lost respect for you. The problem is, I don't believe you, I said. Everything you've done since you got home has convinced me it's true, and I can't be unconvinced. I'm going, Collins. You can go on your date, too. I'm done. I stepped back, grabbed my jacket, wallet, and keys, walked to the door, and started to walk out. Wait! She ran for the door as fast as she could in 4-inch heels. She didn't make it in time. I closed the door and got in the car. By the time she opened the door and stepped outside, I was already pulling out onto the street. I decided to see what Beck was up to. She lived about 4 miles from us, so I pounced on her. WID? Netflix and chill, she immediately replied. Would you like some company? I asked. She sent me a heart. I'll make popcorn. When I got there, she was already curled up on the couch. Davy met me at the door and nearly knocked me over. When a 160-pound dog de Bordeaux clings to your legs, trying to bury you in affection, it makes an impression. Hey, buddy. I managed to stay on my feet and gave him a good scratching as he wriggled around, drooling on my pants and snoring with pleasure. It always takes about 10 minutes to get to Beck's house. By the time I got to the couch, Beck had already poured me a glass of wine and put popcorn on my plate. I sipped my wine and looked at her. Not a word, she said. I like sweet wine. You don't. You're in my house. Deal with it. I laughed. Hey, I tried to raise you right. It's not my fault you lost your way. She grabbed the ever-present towel, wiped the lint off my pants, threw the plaid over my legs, and snuggled in. What's Mommy doing? She asked. Well, I'm not sure, I said. She cast a leering look at me. That's weird. Yes. I agree. What's up, Dad? What do you mean you're not sure? When I got home from work, she said she was going on a date, I told her. When I disagreed, she said she was going to cancel the date and we would talk things over. I decided I was done discussing it and left. So I don't know if she's on a date or sitting at home waiting for me to talk things out. She stared at me with her mouth open for a minute. What the hell, Daddy? She waved away my frown at her scolding. What the hell do you mean by date? Beck, I'm as shocked as you are, believe me. She told me she was going on a date with a man, but she didn't say who with, and she seemed to expect me to just say, okay, have fun. What? Dad, is this a joke? Are you sure you got it right? I have a positive attitude, and I wish it was a joke. What the hell is going on in there? She demanded. Jesus, I was there on Wednesday, and neither of you said a word. Everything was fine. Hey, I thought everything was okay, I said. I couldn't say anything because I didn't know anything. Tonight was the first time I heard for the first time. I'll call her, she said. Collins answered, and the conversation from the side I heard was interesting. Beck didn't say anything unnecessary. Where are you, Mom? With who? What the hell, Mom? You just lied to me. Dad's sitting right here. No, you just lied to me. What the hell is wrong with you? You just lied to me. My mother just lied to me. I don't care. You lied. I don't know how you're going to make it up to me. Don't mess with my head. Don't call me, don't come here. When and if I want to talk to you, I know how to do it. She ended the conversation. We sat like that for a few minutes. I didn't know what to say. I put my arms around her and pulled her against me. I felt her warm little body start to shiver, and then she buried her face in my chest and began to sob. She lied to me, Dad. She told me she was with you at the restaurant. She lied to me. I guess you heard right. I just hugged her and I felt like crying myself. I guessed she had gone on this date after all. I know, sweetheart. It's going to be okay. I know. Please don't cry, Beck. You're breaking my heart. How is everything going to be okay? She sat up and stared at me, her sad tears turning to angry ones. My own mother just lied to me. She's on a date and she tried to tell me, Daddy, what are you going to do? I have no idea, I said. Beck, I'm floundering here. I came here just to chat with you, to try to get my thoughts in order. I should have thought you'd ask me. I didn't mean to. It's not your fault. I asked you. She grabbed a box of tissues, wiped her eyes, and blew her nose. She looked at me, lowered herself to the floor, and lay on top of Davy. He snored, objecting to being disturbed from his nap, and after a couple minutes, she moved over to me again, snuggling against him. Cuddling Davy always calms me down, she said. Hugging you always calms me down, I told her. You smell better than Davy. She giggled. He's a little stinky. Talk to me, Daddy. Where did this come from? What's going on between you and Mom? What are you going to do? I would love to answer these questions, but I don't know, and I don't know. I'm shocked. For a minute, she sat in silence. We should call Sylvia, she said. She pulled out her cell phone. Hey, Sil. Where are you? Well, I need you to come here right now. No, this is very important. I'm serious right now. Okay. I'll see you later. She's at Straps, she said. Straps was a club they liked. It was about 10 minutes away. She needs to take an Uber. We ate popcorn and drank wine, talking softly about what might be going on with Collins. Sylvia showed up about 20 minutes later. She performed Davy's ritual and came over to sit on the other side of Beck. Sylvia was born 3 years earlier than Beck, and they had always been close. They did everything together. Beck was as tiny as her mother, a little blonde pixie. Sylvia was 4 inches taller with her mother's hair and eyes, a slightly larger and darker version of her mother. She hugged us both. "What happened?" she asked. "What's the emergency?" "I was at a party." "Everything better be okay." Beck looked at her incredulously. "That's not good. Are you high?" Sylvia laughed. "Well, I told you I'm at a party. I had 2 margaritas and 1 cocktail, okay?" "Go make some coffee, Dad," Beck ordered. "This is serious, Syl." By the time I'd made coffee and Sylvia had had her second cup, Beck had told her everything he knew. She looked a little shaken. "Daddy, I know there's more to the story," she said. "Are you sure you're not telling us? Have you been fighting? Are you having problems with, in the bedroom?" "We fight sometimes, yes," I said. "No more than when you both lived at home. And now that I think about it, even less. Mostly we fight about the 2 of you." Beck punched me in the bicep. "Hey!" I chuckled. "And no problems in the bedroom that I know of. And if there are, I don't have any, and your mom hasn't said a word." "I need to talk to her," Sylvia said. "You need to talk to her, Beck. Most of all, you need to talk to her, Daddy. Why didn't you stay home and talk to her?" "Maybe I should have," I admitted. I was too angry. "Jesus, girls, you didn't see the coolness with which she just announced it to me." Beck squeezed me. "I know, Dad. But Syl's right. I think we all need to talk to her, find out what she's thinking. When do you think you can pull yourself together to talk to her without losing her?" "I don't know," I said. "I hope it's soon. I don't think I can take it much longer. I'll go to the lake, try to relax enough to sleep, get up tomorrow and hopefully get a grip on myself." "I'll come with you," Beck announced. "Now I'll get my bag and a blanket for Davy." She headed for her bedroom but stopped. "Give Daddy a cigarette," she said to Sylvia. Sylvia looked at me questioningly. I nodded and she dug into her bag, pulled out a case, handed it to me and put it away. I'd never been an avid smoker. Collins and I flashed once every few days. It was a remedy for anxiety and I felt I needed it. Beck came out with her bag, put some dog food in the container, took Davy's dishes, I took his bed, and we went to the truck. Sylvia walked us out. We threw our stuff in the back of the truck and spread a blanket on the back seat of the truck. "I'm going to talk to my mom in the morning," she said. "Beck, why don't you find out when you can talk to her? Let me know what happens." "Daddy, don't do anything stupid, okay?" "Maybe," I said. "I'm a little dumb. I'll try not to do anything super stupid." Sylvia hugged us, Davy climbed into the car, and we drove off. On the way, we talked for quite a while. Beck gave me the 3rd degree, asking me about 1,000,000 questions, some of which I could answer, and some of which I couldn't. We got to the lake house, took Davy down to the lake and walked beside me, Beck holding my hand like she'd held my whole life. Some things hadn't changed. I was pleased to hear that. Davy swam a bit, we threw him sticks, he chased frogs and squirrels, and we walked back. It was getting dark by now, and we laid out our stuff. I looked around at the booze supply. "Want a mojito?" I asked Beck. "Yummy," she said. "I want some." I made 2 large portions, each with 2 ounces of rum in it. Beck lit the fireplace, and we sipped our drinks and talked. We lit a cigarette, and I felt quite relaxed. "What do you think, Daddy?" she asked. "I have a few options, but it all depends on your mom," I said. "I have to tell you, Beck. It's all pretty messed up. I think she might tell me she's lost her mind, take everything back, and then we're left where?" "In therapy," Beck said. I laughed. "Yeah, a magic wand." "I think I'd try it." "What if she's determined?" she asked. "In court, I guess," I said. "Of course she doesn't want it." "How could she want it?" "I have no idea," I said. "You're a lot smarter than me, Beck. You're going to be a psychologist very soon. Tell me, what would make a person do what she does?" "I actually have no idea," she said. "I know the literature. People cheat to get revenge because they have commitment issues, are sexually attracted, find themselves in situations where they're thrown together, looking for something they're not getting from their primary partner. It's probably a combination of several factors. I'm pretty sure none of those apply to my mom." "I have no idea if that's the case," I said. "If it is, and she has some complaints, you'd think she'd talk to me and let me try to fix what's wrong." "Yeah, you'd think so," she said. "I guess we'll find out. I'm going to talk to her tomorrow, Dad. You'll have to drive me back so I can get my car." Surprisingly, I slept well. I watched videos and occupied my thoughts until I fell asleep, dropping my phone. I just turned it off and fell asleep. I got up, got dressed, took Davy outside, and he wandered around the bushes for about an hour. When we got back, Beck was already up. "Do we have anything to eat, Daddy?" she asked. Not really, honey. We had to stop on the way here. It's all right, she said. You can take me out to breakfast. I want French toast at Gailey's. Deal. We left Davy at the house. He was mostly asleep anyway when he was bored and had a heavy breakfast. The topic of conversation was hypothetical situations that could have happened before we decided we were bored with it. We talked about school, my job, Davy's latest antics, and how her internship was going. We went back and got her stuff and picked up Davy, and then I drove her back to her house. I walked back to the lake, sat in the glider on the porch, and watched the boats move around the lake. It was lonely. I missed Collins and thought about the times we sat like this, doing nothing but enjoying being together. I missed Beck. Hell, I'd even settle for Davy as a companion. I decided to go fishing. I took the boat and fished in the cedar thickets, catching 6 nice crappie. I cleaned them and found some frozen fries to eat them. They were delicious as always. When I decided to turn my phone back on, I got texts from both girls asking me to come over to Beck's. I got my ass there and they were just eating pizza. Beck brought me a beer, and we sat at the bar in her kitchen while they ate. Well, I talked to her, Beck began. Me too, Sylvia said. And, prompted I. You're not going to like it, Beck said. She told me she wasn't happy. Not with you, of course, but with her life in general. She thinks it lacks excitement, challenge. Some jerk who owns a company she often works with is hitting on her. She likes the fact that she is being pursued, that men find her attractive. She wants to be able to go on dates. She says she loves you and you can go on dates if you want. I sat for a minute, digesting her words. Sylvia, is it the same story as yours? I asked finally. Quite so, she said. Daddy, I don't think it will last long. She'll figure it out and it'll be out of her system. Damn, Syl. You don't mind shit like this? Burst out Beck. I didn't say I was fine with it. She defended herself. I said I thought it wouldn't last long. She'll get over it and things will go back to normal. I was dumbfounded. What do you advise me to do while she comes to her senses? I asked. Love her, be patient, let her calm down, she said. She loves you, Daddy. She's just having midlife issues or something. Or maybe not, said Beck. These are midlife issues, not having fun with other guys. Well, what other options do you have? Divorce her? Put her in a cage? Asked Sylvia. I have no idea, I said. Divorcing her is definitely one option. No, it isn't, Sylvia insisted. Jesus, Daddy, just don't go crazy with this. You two are meant to be together, and you know it. Shouldn't you talk to your mom about this? Asked Beck. Shouldn't you be telling her not to freak out? This is some bullshit, Sylvia. You're taking her side and Dad hasn't done a damn thing. Not a damn thing. I'm not taking sides, Sylvia replied. Well, that's a problem too, isn't it? Beck was starting to get heated. You're supposed to take sides, not this and be patient crap. Patient I am. She went on a date with some creep, Sylvia. You know very well he's a bastard. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be hitting on a married woman. And she's a whore for letting him. Hey, let's just take a break, I tried to tone it down. But they weren't interested. So what do you want, Beck? You want our parents to get divorced? Is that what you're talking about? It's not about what I want, Beck said. It's not about what you want. It's about what Daddy wants. Don't forget, Sylvia, Daddy didn't want any of this. It was Mommy who wanted it, and she's going to have to make it right. I'm telling you this right now. She can have whatever she wants, but until she gets her head in order, she has to plan for my relationship with her to depend on what I want. And what will it be? Asked Sylvia. I want to see her as little as possible and not hear her at all. So you're going to tell us about your relationship with our mother? I'm not flushing anything, Sylvia, and that's your problem. You can't see that. Everything that's happened since Dad came home from work last night is Mom's fault. Every little thing. She's the one pulling the strings, and if you can't see that, then you have the same problem she does. Whoa, just take your time, girls. Let's not let this get out of hand. I tried to hug them. Beck let me pull her to me, but Sylvia turned around, grabbed her bag, and sprinted out the door. I pulled Beck to the window and we watched Sylvia get into the car. The headlights came on, then went out. She got out and started to back up, then turned around, got back in, and drove off. God, I'm so mad at her right now. Beck was furious. I'm sorry, Dad, but that was a load of crap. She pressed herself against me and I thought for a moment. I sighed. Yes, it is, but it's not Sylvia's delusion, Beck. It's your mother's delusion. Children shouldn't be put in that position. I know you're both grown women, but we had a special family, honey. Our whole lives revolved around each other. I'm closer to you girls than any father I know. You always had a great relationship with your mother. You shouldn't be in the middle of this shit, and neither should Sylvia. I'm sorry about that. Dad, it's not your fault, she said. You're right, it's Mom's shit, but Sylvia, who acts like it's no big deal and you just have to be patient, is shit too. Just don't burn any bridges, I said. Let me talk to her. I'll try to work something out. I love you so much, Beck. I don't want you to get hurt any more than you already have. She hugged me tightly. I trust you, Daddy. I'll just wait for you and see what happens. Keep me close, okay? Always, I assured her. It was time to put the lion on my beard. I couldn't put it off, couldn't live in uncertainty. When I pulled up to the garage, her car was parked there. I sat for a minute, trying to find a calm center, sighed, and went inside. My stomach felt like I was about to get heartburn, so I went in and got a glass of milk to calm it down. Collins was in her office and came out when she heard me. She looked as bad as I probably did. Hi, I said. I'm glad you're okay and back. She looked at me intently. Collins, I'm a hell of a long way from being okay, I told her. She looked thoughtful. I know. I just wanted to keep myself safe. Do you want to talk? I nodded. Here or in the living room? She asked. Might as well be comfortable, I said. She nodded, poured herself a juice, and I grabbed a box of wheat cakes. I followed her into the living room, and we sat down on the couch. There was about a foot between us, which was unusual because she always wanted to cuddle up against us. There must have been a hostile vibe coming from me. I definitely felt hostile. I want to apologize to you, Barnes, she said. I realize I did everything wrong, very wrong. I raised my hand. Collins, if you think mismanagement is a problem, then we're wasting our time. She looked confused. I don't understand. Let me make this as clear as possible, I said. There is no possible way that you could have coped by telling me you were going on a date that would have mitigated the fact that you were planning to go on a date. Do you understand that? I understand what you mean, but you don't understand what I mean, she said. Okay, you've heard me out, so go ahead. Make me understand. By manage, I mean that I should have taken the time to explain what I was doing so that the very fact that I was doing it would be tolerable to you. I'm afraid you'd have to be a bloody wizard to do that, I said. You suddenly discovered you have magical powers? She smiled. Not quite magic, but almost, she said. I spread my hands apart. You have the floor, miss. Le fait. I just want you to think about it, Barnes. How old are we? I'm 48 and you're ancient, 49, I said. She laughed. Yes, and I can feel each of those years. Not in the physical sense. I think we're both in better shape now than we've ever been, and physically I feel 25. It's mental, emotionally. Remember when we were 25, Barnes? Yes, I remember everything. Me too. I remember feeling vital, alive, like life was full of endless possibilities, like there was nothing we couldn't accomplish. Everything sparkled, we were bright, colors were primary, love was a new discovery every day. Do you remember? Yes. Think about our lives now, she said. I know every step of the way. We get up on Sunday to start the week. We can go to church or sleep in, we can make love, we can spend the day making dinner, you can watch soccer, and we can pick a movie. All of these things we've done 1,000 times. Okay, you're right about that. On Monday, we get up and go to work. We come home and do the same thing we've done 1,000 times. Days merge into weeks, weeks into years, years into decades. I feel like we're just doing all the activities. I understand all that, I said. I think the difference is that I like doing the things we've done 1,000 times already. I want to do them 1,000 more times. That's why we keep doing them, because we like them. If we didn't like them, we'd be doing other things. That's exactly my point, she said. I love doing what we do too. I want to supplement that, do something new, bring back some of the joy of being surprised by life. I want to keep growing, keep exploring new areas. I see. What makes you think I don't want to do something new? Apparently you think we can't do any of these things together. I think we could do them together, she said. I told you I'm going on a date, and when I get home, I'll tell you all about it. Share my experiences with you. You could do that too, Barnes. I think your idea of together and my idea of it are quite different. She frowned. What do you mean? Let me be very clear. When I say together, I mean you and me. As soon as you introduce someone else, the together test is failed. She thought for a moment. How long has it been since you've spent time alone with a woman other than me? Well, I assume you mean other than the girls or other family members. I think that would be 6 months. Remember when we went to Kansas City with Amber? We met with the telecommunications representatives. She nodded. I know Amber pretty well. Tell me, Barnes, is there any tension between you two? Not that I know of, I said. I mean, I know she's a woman. She's gorgeous, you know that, but I'm married, 10 years older than she is, and we don't flirt, if that's what you mean. We have a very good working business relationship. We're friends, and I'm not trying to be anything else. Well, you said it yourself, she's gorgeous. She's single, Barnes. What if you took her out to dinner, and then the two of you decided to try the nightlife, went to a club, danced together? Would that be exciting? Holding all that beauty in your arms, wouldn't that get your motor running? Maybe. That's why I don't, I said. Why not? She asked. Because I'm married to you, I told her. I don't put myself in a situation where my motor is running for anyone but you. And if I was okay with it? She asked. It doesn't matter, I said. It wouldn't suit me. She sighed. I'd be okay with that. Maybe 10 years ago I wouldn't have done that. I'm more mature now. I'd put up with it, and I think you should put up with me doing the same. That's the thing, I told her. No. That's not what I signed up for, Collins. You promised me, I promised you. If you want to leave, that's fine. Well, it's not great, but it is what it is. If you're determined, I can't stop you. I only control myself. I don't want to leave, she said. I want to be more free. I want to be spontaneous, see adventures and go on them, but not leave the house. You're going to do it regardless of how I feel about it? She sighed again. I don't know, Barnes. I'm inclined to say yes. The fact that you think that you have it all mapped out in your head, that you can talk about it so fluently, tells me a lot, I told her. You haven't been communicating with me. You've been hiding it from me for a while. What else have you been hiding? And then there's your little stunt on Friday night. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I was mad at you for leaving when I wanted to talk about it. That's nonsense, Collins. It's an outright lie. You planned this long before Friday and were going to go before you even mentioned it to me. Speaking of lies, you also lied to Beck. I guess you're pretty good at that. I spat out my anger and bitterness. I told you I'd cancel and we could talk. The rest of the shit she safely dodged. Screw that. I've had enough of the chit-chat. Okay, you had your chance at management, I said. My position hasn't changed. It's not about finding the right way to lay hands on me. There's no way to do it right. What matters is that you did it, that you plan to do more of it, and that you want to do it. That's all that matters. I don't control you, but I do control me. I'll just get my shit together and leave you to it. What the hell, Barnes? That's not what I want, she protested. I'm not doing it. But you'll want to, I said. Right now I have zero trust in you. You've already more or less told me that you think I'm boring, that you need excitement in your life, primary colors and all that. Even if you don't do anything, I'll always know you think that, and there's no way you can convince me that you won't resent being stuck in a boring life. We want different things, Collins, so let's move on. I went down to the basement, got my luggage, carried it into the bedroom, and started packing. I took everything I would need for a week or so. Later, I could go back and get whatever I wanted. She kept walking beside me, telling me she didn't want this, that we'd work it out, but I didn't listen. I put everything in the truck and she tried to go around it and get in. Luckily, the door was locked. She was standing in the driveway as I drove away. It was a depressing sight. I loved her, and I felt like I had lost half of my heart and soul. I just couldn't see a way forward. This time I remembered to stop at the grocery store. That took my mind off things for a while. A trip to the lake brought it all back with renewed vigor. I turned on a podcast, but by the time I arrived, I had no idea what it was about. I took my stuff into the house and set it down in a daze. It occurred to me that I should talk to the girls, but I was mentally and emotionally exhausted. I just didn't have the energy. As it turned out, I still had to look for him. I had been sitting there for about an hour when my phone rang. I looked, it was Sylvia. I had some business to attend to. Hi, honey, I said. Where are you, Daddy? She asked. I'm at the lake, I said. Where are you? I'm at your house, she said. My mom called me and asked me to come over. I got a call notification. It was Beck. Hold on a minute, it's Beck calling, I said. I answered and said I would call her back, that I was on the phone with Sylvia. She was fine with that, and I called Sylvia back. Hey, I told her I'd call her back. I'm glad you're there with your mom. She's in total distress, Dad. You should be here with her, not me. I know about that, I said. Sylvia, this is a difficult conversation. Are you sure you want to talk about it over the phone? She was quiet for a minute. No, I guess not. Are you coming back? No, I'm not going to, honey. I'll explain all this when I see you, okay? No, it's not good, but I guess it is what it is, she said. Daddy, I have to work. I can't stay here. I'll stay tonight, but I'm really busy at work. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Your mom works too, I said. That's not your concern, Sylvia. You do what you need to do. Your mom and I are adults. She snorted, and I could tell she was very upset. I'm so sorry, Sylvia. I know this is hard for you. I love you, though. You're my first child, and you'll always be special to me. She gasped as she replied, I love you too, Daddy. Bye. I pulled myself together and called Beck. Hi, honey. Are you okay, Daddy? She asked. I will be, I said. Are you okay? Same thing, she said. I suppose you're at the lake? Yes. Do you want to come outside and I'll tell you what happened? Yeah, I'm packed, she said. All the classes this week are online, but I have to go to work on Wednesday and Thursday. Can I spend this week? You don't have to ask. I'll spend every second with you, I told her. I know, she said. I'll be out in an hour or so. I've got dinner waiting for me, I said. I was putting food out on the counter when I heard the sliding door to the porch open and Davy's claws clicking as he looked for me. He was going nose to nose with the food and I had to stop and give him some love. I fed him the fat. I trimmed off the pork chops and was already washing my hands when Beck hugged me from behind. I wiped my hands and hugged her back. It smells good, she said. No, Davy. She grabbed paper towels and wiped the saliva from his mouth. He settled down behind the bar stools and we started eating. It was delicious. I think it didn't go well, she said. No, she had all sorts of explanations. It all boiled down to the fact that she was bored and wanted to be a child again. Fine, she rolled her eyes. Tell me something, I said. If you were in your role seeing your mother as a client, what would you say is wrong with her? I would never consider her or anyone else I have a personal relationship with as a client, she says. If someone I don't know came to me with their story, I would say they're depressed because they're seeing their transition age. There's no such thing as a midlife crisis, you know. I didn't know, I said. I thought it was something. I hear about them all the time. Yes, movies and books have made it so popular that everyone thinks it's real, she says. It's not a diagnosis. It's a transitional period, and some people see their mortality, start feeling like they have a finite number of years at the peak of their life, get depressed, start doing stupid things to maintain the illusion that they're immortal. Wow. Who would have thought it, said I. My baby is so smart. She smiled at me. Yes, I am, and don't you forget it. Do you think she should see a therapist? I asked. I know, and I'll tell her, but I won't get involved, she said. I understand. I wish you weren't as infatuated as you are right now. I'm really sorry about that. It's not your fault, she said. I know you feel bad for me. I feel bad for you too, but we'll get through this and get through it, right? Yeah, we don't have any other choice, I said. Sylvia arrived Tuesday night, Beck made potato salad, and I grilled hamburgers. We sat at the table on the porch and ate while talking. Dad, Mom is a mess, Sylvia said. Yeah, pretty much the same thing, I told her. What are you going to do? She asked. She wants you to come home. She promised she'd forget about all this. She sees the damage she's done and she's sorry. Yes, I'm sure it is in a way. What do you mean in a way? It's hard to explain, dear, but I'll try. I want to hear it too, Beck said. I need a minute, I said. Girls, would you like a drink? What have you got? Sylvia asked. I've got stuff for Palomas, I said. Yum, Beck said. I want some. Sylvia wanted some too, and I gathered my thoughts as I mixed them. We made ourselves comfortable, and I was as ready as I could possibly be. Sylvia, are you still dating that what's-his-name? Dickweed, Beck shot back. Sylvia laughed. No, I realized he's a jerk. I have a new boyfriend I met here a month or so ago. His name is an asshole. His name is Richard. Oh my God, Dick! They were both laughing hysterically. They were stepping on my heels. I tried again. Well, suppose Dick. They fell silent again. Richard, all right? Richard. Suppose Richard had told you that you were boring, Sylvia. How would you feel about that? Not very good, she said. I'm not boring. No, it isn't, but it seems to him that it is. What can you say? Can you argue with what someone feels? I don't know exactly what you mean, she said. Well, Beck, you don't like raisins. Sylvia, you don't like coconut. That's how you feel. Would you feel differently if I told you that you like girls? No, Beck said, and I kind of see where you're going with this. Did Mom really tell you that you're boring in those words? No. I can't quote her exactly. I remember some of the words. She said a bunch of nonsense. Shit, Beck said. We're adults, Dad, Sylvia said. I don't want to shock you, but I'm cussing a little. What's your favorite word? Beck giggled madly. Stop it, you two, I admonished them, which made them burst into laughter. She asked me if I remembered what we were like when we were 25. What it was like for you girls. She had all these glowing words about how great it was, how exciting our lives were, how everything was new and bright. She said she felt like we were stuck in a rut, doing the same thing over and over and over again, and she wanted to bring that excitement back. Can you feel it, Dad? Asked Beck. Probably a little, I said. I know I'm not 25 anymore. I told her I like what we do, otherwise I'd be doing other things. I don't see anything wrong with that, said Sylvia. What did she say? She wanted to do different things, I replied. The problem is, she doesn't want to do different things with me. She wants to do them with other men. She likes to be wooed. She likes to feel that men want her, so she's going to date them, and if things work out, do things with them. Oh my God, Beck said. How do I handle this? I asked them. Can I tell her she's wrong? She feels the way she feels, and you can't argue with feelings. Will all the excitement and energy she says she lacks show up like magic? No, it's not, Beck said. Honey, think about it, I said. Do you really believe that it hit her on Friday? That she suddenly had an epiphany and arranged to go out with some guy on Friday? No, she said. What are you getting at? I'm telling you, she's been thinking about it for a long time, I said. Has she said anything to me? She hasn't said a word. Do you understand? I know, Beck said. Me too, Sylvia added. Dad, if she goes to a therapist, gets counseling, changes her mind about how she feels, do you think you can work it out? I shook my head. Sylvia, she thought she could get around me. She could have just announced she was going on a date, and I would have been fine with it. Do you realize how disrespectful that is? She sank into the chair. Yes, I know, Dad. I'm really sorry. What if she was sorry? Do you think that's true? I asked. She said she was sorry she hadn't been able to tell me better, not that she was sorry she was doing it. I'm going to talk to her, Sylvia said. Beck, will you help me? If I get her consent, will you give her a referral to a good therapist? I will, Beck said. If she asks for help, I'll be there for her, Syl. I won't interfere in her life unless she asks for it herself. She has to want it herself, not be forced to accept help. Sylvia left very unhappy. I didn't like it, but she hugged us and said she loved us and would always come back. Beck had indeed maintained a somewhat cold relationship with Collins, but as the weeks passed, she rarely mentioned her. I received regular detailed reports from Sylvia. Collins dismissed all thoughts of therapy, although she did mention that she wouldn't mind counseling with the couple. I asked Beck what she thought about it, and she decided it was futile. She felt that unless the underlying causes of Collins's dissatisfaction were addressed, all counseling would accomplish was masking her feelings or trying to reconcile me into agreeing to what she wanted. Are you ready to do this? Asked Beck. No. I'm not interested in other women, and even less interested in sharing her with other men, I said. Sylvia was there, and she asked an interesting question. Are you sure, Daddy? What if you think of it as a little vacation from marriage and get involved with hot chicks for a while? Once Mom gets rid of her glitch, you can get back to normal. May I? I asked. What if in 2 years or 5 or 10 she feels bored again? Besides, I don't know any hot chicks to sleep with even if I wanted to, and I don't. Don't you see any hot chicks waiting outside? Maybe I should go check it out. They both laughed. Unless you work with them or they're burglars and break in, you don't meet any, Beck said. You look very well for your years, Papa, said Sylvia. If you were looking, I doubt you'd have any trouble. I'm not interested, I said. No, Sylvia, I just can't. I don't have it in me. Are you disappointed? In a way, yes, she said. I hate it when you and Mom aren't together. On the other hand, I have to respect you. You know yourself. You have morals and you stick to them. Thank you for that. After 2 months, when there was no noticeable change, I got fed up. I filed for divorce. I got a call right away. This has gone too far, Barnes, Collins said over the phone. Are you divorcing me? You have no reason to. What are you going to tell the judge? I don't have to tell him anything, I said. That's the definition of a no-fault divorce. What do you tell other people? She asked. We had a disagreement and you divorced me? I won't tell them anything, I said. It's none of their business. I'll be there, she said. We need to talk about this before it's too late. Do you want me to make dinner Friday night? I asked. Yes, that would be perfect, she said. I was putting the finishing touches on dinner when I heard the door open. I felt a little bad that she had just walked in. Sure, we both owned the lake house, but I didn't go back to our house in town and go in when she was there. I stopped by to get my stuff when she was at work, but nothing more than that. Oh well. She looked as good as ever. She still made my pulse race, even if I regarded her warily. She tossed her purse on the chair and walked over to me. She wanted to hug me, and then she wanted to kiss me. A hug I could do, but a kiss, given the circumstances, was beyond me. She looked hurt, but so be it. So did I, and for good reason. What can I do for you? She asked. Everything's ready, I said. If you want, you can set the table while I get the dishes. We laid out the food, poured the wine, and she began. I don't want a divorce, Barnes. That's what I don't understand, I said. Why not? Because I love you and I want to spend the rest of our lives together, she said. But why? I asked. You've been married to me for most of our adult lives, and you weren't happy about it, remember? I never said I wasn't happy, she said. Perhaps you used the wrong word, I said. Don't play semantic games with me, Collins. You've managed to express your displeasure clearly enough. Then you misunderstand me, she said. I'm quite satisfied. I just wanted to add to our mutual satisfaction. Okay, but you wanted to add that you were having fun with other men, I said. That made me very uncomfortable. I think the answer is simple. We'll get divorced and you can have fun with other men as you see fit, and I won't be displeased. I don't understand that. Anyway, I'm having fun with other men. The difference is that I won't be married to you while you do it. You can keep doing it, and I can keep living my life. Maybe I'll find someone who doesn't want to have fun with other men. The perfect solution. You get what you want and I get what I want. That's not what I want, she said. Why should it be a choice between you and random dates with other men? If it's a choice, I want to be married to you. I realize that, and the girls, well, Sylvia, told me that's your position. The problem is that I don't want to be married to a woman who wants to have fun with other men, whether she does or not. We finished dinner and moved to the couch. So that's it? She asked. Even though I love you, I gave up the idea and chose you. Don't you want to be married to me? Yes, Collins, that's exactly right. Look at me, Barnes, she said. I looked up. The next moment she was in my lap, her luscious lips devouring mine, kissing my entire face, her arms wrapped around me like boas, her hot body pressed against mine. For a moment I was lost in the sensations, then I came to my senses and stopped moving. She continued for another minute, but my lack of response was noticeable and she slowed down and stopped. What happened? She asked. Collins, have you two met? I asked her. I already knew the answer. I could see the doubt in her eyes. Apparently she had decided to be honest. Yes, Barnes, it is. Here's the thing, I told her. Are you going on a date? She asked. Probably eventually, I said. I like being married, Collins. I don't think it's boring. She sighed. Could I be one of those women you're dating? Maybe, I said. I doubt I can do that. I don't feel the same way about you. Maybe I'll stop being angry about the way you treated me. Maybe I won't think about the other guys you're with. But I wouldn't hold my breath. She was angry, sad, got up, walked over and picked up her purse. Let me know if you change your mind, she said, and walked away. The divorce was going through the court and her attorney asked the judge to schedule counseling. This was unexpected, and the judge explained that he was required by law to schedule it if one of the parties requested it. I'm not doing this, I told my lawyer. It's none of the judge's or the state's business. Hell no. He can hold you in contempt, he said. You're the expert, I said. Figure it out. I can't, he said. That's what the law says. I sat like that for a minute. What if we withdraw the divorce petition? Will he still be able to order it? He was stunned. No, I don't think he could. Is that what you want? Yes. Do it, I said. This seemed to stun all the participants, and Collins adopted a rather smug expression on her face. After the proceedings were adjourned, I approached them. The reason I dropped the lawsuit is because I'm not going to be forced to do anything, I told her. Until you decide you're done with your bullshit, I'm going to talk to you one last time. Don't call, write, or send telegrams. I'll never speak to you again if that's what you want. Her jaw dropped and she started to say something, but I just walked away. She tried to talk to me for 2 months. She tried to do all sorts of nasty things like messaging me through Sylvia. Beck's relationship with her mother deteriorated to the point where they didn't even speak, and this caused tension between Beck and Sylvia. She tried to come to the lake house 3 times, but I had the good sense to change the locks and lock all the doors. I just ignored her. One time she even came to my work and I had to kick her out. After 2 months, she gave up and told Sylvia that she would no longer seek counseling if I wanted to sue. We did so, went to the same judge, and the divorce was uncontested. I could see he wasn't happy about it, but it was settled between the two of us, and he couldn't order it. She kept the house in town, and I got the house on the lake. It was what I wanted, at any rate. The property was equitably distributed. She kept her business, and I kept mine. There was no spousal support, and we both kept our pensions. The usual divorce proceedings, boring, tedious, and annoying. I started buying businesses. It didn't take long, and my retirement began. I fished, learned to water ski, and the girls and I practically lived on the boat all summer. By the time October rolled around, I was ready. I applied for a visa to become a resident of Mexico. I could be here for 180 days, just as a tourist, and decided that by then I would have a clear idea of what I wanted to do. I winterized the house, swapped my half-ton Chevy for a diesel-powered F350, bought an Eagle Cap Luxury 1200 camper, hooked up the boat, and headed south. Lake Bacharach in Sinaloa, Mexico was to be my new home for the next 180 days. Both girls were a little disgruntled with me, but they would get used to it. After I bought them both plane tickets to Guadalajara, promising them all the beach time they wanted, they were absolutely thrilled. The first week I was there, I found a 5-acre piece of land about a mile from the lake, bought it, got utilities, and by the end of the month I was a local. The second time I fished the lake, I caught a 14-pound bass and I was hooked, pun intended. Sylvia flew in January and I met her at the airport. We drove to Puerto Vallarta and I suggested that she park on the beach and stay with me, or we get a hotel. She chose the hotel. It was a very nice place, full service, and we had a great time. She stayed there for a week, and on the last day we sat on lounge chairs and looked out at the ocean. "You're not coming back, are you, Daddy?" she asked. "I haven't definitely decided yet," I told her. "I'm leaning toward staying. You girls are the only thing that will keep me coming back, and I'll fly to you anytime you want me to. I'll come a few times a year to see you." "What about Mom?" she asked. I grimaced. "Is she okay?" "I guess," she said. "She's mostly working." "I know she regrets everything." "How do you know?" I asked. "Well, she didn't talk about it in so many words, but she seems, I don't know, reserved? She's not the simmering, energetic person she used to be. I think she's sad. I don't think she found the dating scene as wonderful as she thought it would be." "Well, I'm sorry to hear that," I said. "If it's all the same to you, Sylvia, I'd rather not talk about her, okay?" She gave me a sad smile. "I know. I took her hand. "I know." We shrugged off the bad vibes and had fun that night. I drove her to the airport, and she left with hugs and tears, promising to return soon. Beck flew in February, and it was pretty much the same, except she wanted to stay with me in the camper. We spent 3 days at the beach. After lunch on the third day, she asked, "Where do you really live, Daddy?" I told her, and she wanted to go there. We slid the convertible roofs on and hit the road. It was quite a long drive, and we had a great time on the road. When we pulled up, she saw the view of the lake, the 2 barns I had built, the lot, and she loved it all. "I can't believe you have such a beautiful place, a cute little house truck, and you actually live here," she said. "I'm a lucky man," I said. "It would only be better if you lived here." She gave me a hard stare. "I have no idea how I'm going to make a living. I'd like to use my degree." "Do you know what my degree is?" I asked her. "I'm sure you told me." "I don't remember." "I just know you have it." "It's agribusiness," I said. She laughed. "Farming? What do looms have to do with it?" "I got into machine tools because I worked at a farm implement dealership," I said. "We were constantly getting combines coming in with sheared pins. I got the idea to start making harder pins. From there, it just went from there." "I had no idea," she said. "Well, I mean, there are ways to use your degree, and there are ways to use your degree." "Explain this." "You're a psychologist. What do you mainly do?" "Listen to people's concerns," she said. "Bartenders do that a lot," I told her. She laughed. "Yeah, I guess it is." She had 2 weeks and then flew back. I missed her badly for a few weeks and then went back to my sybaritic lifestyle. 6 months later, she called me. "I need a favor," she said. "If I can do it, I will," I said. "I need a loan." "Are we talking about a big loan or are you just short on cash?" "Big credit," she said. "May I ask what it's for?" "You don't trust me?" "No, I want to. I'll lend you whatever you need." "I was just toasting you," she said. "I want to buy a cabin." "Well, that sounds interesting," I said. "Is it an existing lodge? Does it generate income? Can I look at it online or something?" "You can," she said. I was hoping you'd go there. I was confused. Where? How far? 10 miles, she said. It's on Lake Bacharach. Really? You're frying me again? No, she said. I studied their books with an accountant. They make good money. They have a bar so I could listen to people's problems. She giggled at that and I laughed along with her. Oh my God, honey. That would be a dream come true for me. How much do you need? She showed me a staggering figure. Jesus, Beck, you swung for the fence, didn't you? Go big or stay home, she said. Don't you have enough? Not if you pay me, I said. I'll prepare a payment plan, she said. It should be pretty short term. Once I own the business and can show I'm making a profit, I'll get bank financing. Right now, I'm in the position of someone with no credit rating. I understand, I said. That's so cool, Beck. I can't believe you're doing this. God, it'll be so great to have you here. I'll take a look and let you know what I think, but you have to come and see for yourself. She arrived 3 weeks later and we looked around the place. It catered to fishermen, mostly from the US, and it was a very good investment, I thought. Another 6 months passed and my daughter became the owner of the business. She ran it well and things were going great. Davy became a bit of a celebrity. He was pampered all the time and was in doggy heaven. Beck and I spent a lot of time together, and I hung out at the bar all the time. Beck worked at the bar sometimes, and it was fun to watch her do her psychology work. She had a first-class restaurant, and the locals often ate there. It was always crowded, but she had a table in the kitchen, and they always found a seat for me. I was there Friday night in the kitchen, and the chef asked me if I minded if he sat another guest with me. I wasn't thrilled, but what the hell? Sure, I said. He left, and when he came back, there was a woman with him. My jaw dropped to the floor. God, she was gorgeous. She was elegantly dressed. The yellow number accentuated her swarthy complexion. One shoulder was bare, the length came to just below the knee, but there was a slit on one side, and when she walked, a gorgeous brown leg was visible. Her hair was a mane of glossy black curls with some graying in places. Her forehead was high and wide, and her huge eyes were so dark they appeared black. She had high cheekbones, classically beautiful, full, plump lips, and a slightly pointed chin that gave her face a heart shape. He held out a chair for her, and when she sat down, he introduced us. Miss Valiente, this is Mr. Barton. He's the father of the lady of the house. I stood while she sat down. I sat down and held out my hand to her. Barnes, please. No, mister, at dinner. She laughed a low musical sound that made me want to hear it again. You can call me Nita, she said. Her delightful accented English was flawless. Her voice was low for a woman, a little husky but smooth as velvet. Apparently she had already ordered, because the serving girl brought her a glass of something that looked like sangria. I struggled to find something to say. This beauty shocked me. It's pretty crowded, I said. Lucky they have that table. Yes. I didn't make a reservation, she said. Usually Thomas finds me a seat, but tonight I didn't want to sit at the bar. There's someone there I wanted to avoid. I see. But it didn't matter. I was glad whoever it was, because it meant I could look at Nita, hear her words. Well, you're safe with me. My mission in life is to keep obnoxious guests away from beautiful ladies. She blushed, a peachy tint appearing on her cheeks. I'm very pleased to have a gallant protector. She laughed again, and goosebumps ran down my skin. Do you dine here often? Yes, I said. Like Thomas said, my daughter owns this place, and even though I can cook, I'm the only one who has to cook, so I come here. Ah, sweet Beck, she said. I like her a lot. She and I are becoming friends. Really? Well, I'm glad to hear she's making friends, I said. Do you live nearby? There is, she said. I have a house on the Sinaloa River. I live there most of the time, but also in Los Mochis. You obviously live nearby? I laughed. Well, yeah. I'm pretty mobile, Nita. I have 5 acres of land nearby with a couple of buildings, and I also have a truck and a camper. I've got wandering legs now, and I like the fact that I can go anywhere at any time. I see, she said. You recently moved here from the US, like Beck? I've been here about a year, I said. I came before Beck. She came to visit, fell in love with the place, and bought this cabin. What brings you here? She asked. It was fishing at first, I explained. Yeah, and it kind of is now too. I got a chance to sell my business in the States and satisfy my craving for traveling. What kind of business did you have? She asked. She hesitated, then said, I apologize. It's none of my business. I laughed. You don't have to. I don't mind. I've made parts for companies like Caterpillar, John Deere, and others. Ah, the industrial tycoon, she said, giving me a brilliant smile, and the whiteness of her teeth illuminated that beautiful, swarthy complexion. Not likely, but I've been retired for a long time. But you are so young, she said. Yes, I was lucky, if indeed retirement at 49 can be considered lucky. I'm not retired, she said. I could be, but I feel like I have things to do. Which ones exactly? I asked. If you don't mind my asking. I'm a smuggler, she admitted softly. The look on my face made her laugh. I'm not really a smuggler. I own a pharmaceutical company. We supply prescription drugs to the Mexican Social Security Institute. Wow, that's impressive, said I. That's why I live in Los Mochis, too, she said. She looked at me speculatively. Maybe I should retire and become a Barnes like that. What do you say? Loose legs and fantasy. I laughed. A slacker and a dreamer? She smiled. Yeah, I didn't have English. You speak amazing English, I said. I speak Spanish, but you're better than me. ¿Te gustaría saber cuál es mi negocio aquí? She asked. We switched to Spanish. I'd like to know what you do, I said. Tell me about Nita. Ah, you want to know Nita? She smiled at me again. Yeah, I repeated. Just because you and Beck are friends, you know. She laughed. Yes, I can see that's your reason. I have many acres of land along the river, and I have a few horses, but lots of cattle. What kind? I asked. I have registered cattle of the Gelbway breed. Do you know them? Well, I personally don't know any such, I said, causing her to burst into a fit of giggles. But I know about them. Barnes is very amusing, she said, pulling herself together. I'll have to introduce you to some of them in person and correct that flaw in your familiarity. It was my turn. I didn't giggle, as giggling is unworthy of a man, but I had a good laugh. And Nita is a very funny woman, I said. I want to ask, and you may say it's none of my business, but does Mr. Valiente exist? No, she answered. He used to be, but not anymore. He worked in a petrochemical plant. There was an accident, an explosion, and he was hit by it. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Nita. Me and my big mouth. No, it's acceptable, she said. It's been 11 years. I remember, but only the good times, you know. I nodded. Yeah, the pain of losing loved ones subsides, and you remember all the good things. What about Barnes? She asked. Beck obviously has a mother? Yes, and I have another daughter named Sylvia. She's 3 years older than Beck, I said. I pulled out my phone and showed her a picture of Syl. Ah, she's very pretty, she said. She doesn't live here? No, she lives in the States with her mother. My wife and I divorced almost 2 years ago. Is this a sore subject for you? She asked. It was, I said. But less and less each time. We wanted different things. She wanted to open up our marriage, sleep with other people. I didn't, in short. I'm very sorry to hear about it, she said. Well, that's life, I said. Say, Nita, do you think I could take you out to dinner, maybe next weekend? I'd love to, but just not this coming weekend, she said. I have to leave for Los Mochis the day after tomorrow, and I won't be back until next Tuesday. Maybe the Friday after I get back? Sounds wonderful, I said. Can I get your number? I'll make a reservation and send you a time, okay? Yes, give me your phone number, she said. She entered her phone number into my contacts. Maybe when you pick me up, I'll introduce you to some cattle. She giggled at her joke. I walked her to her car. It was a brand new silver-colored BMW Z4. Nice. I walked around her and admired her before opening her door. She kissed me on the cheek, and it was like I was electrocuted. You were a very charming dinner companion, Barnes, she told me. Thank you for letting me join you. Believe me, the pleasure was all mine. I don't know how I'll look forward to this dinner to see you again. You have my number, she said. Give me a call. Late afternoon is best. I will, I promised. I closed her door and watched her drive away. My God, this was an exquisite woman. And she was going out with me, too. When I walked into the house to say goodnight to Beck, I thought I was high and walking on clouds. She lived in a cabin and I knocked on her door. She opened the door and looked very excited. Did you like her? She didn't hold back. Isn't she a fire? She's so cute, Daddy. Did you ask her out? Oh, you set me up. She giggled in her best evil voice. Yes. I did good? Jesus, honey, how did you get her to do that? She loves me, Beck said. I told her about you, and you're perfect for each other. Did you ask her out? Yeah. She's going away for a week, but she said she'd have dinner with me next Friday. That reminds me, I need to find myself some transportation other than the truck. You can have my car, she said. Thanks, Beck. It'll work for the short term, but I'll have to get my own. The next day I texted Nita. I can see it happening. 2 evil women are conspiring against me. She sent me some smiley faces with hearts and smiley faces. Yes, resistance is futile. I take it Beck has confessed. My own daughter, I said. I can't wait for a dinner date. She sent me another batch of emoji. My anticipation was such that each day seemed like an eternity. I hadn't felt this way since I was in high school, waiting for my first date with the girl I was in love with then. I remembered my conversation with Collins about, remember when we were 25? She wanted that excitement, the bright colors, the sense of anticipation. Oddly enough, I found all of that. I wondered if she had found it. I wrote to Nita once a day and she sent me 2 or 3, skipping a day here and there, and twice I called and talked to her. Talking to her was a new experience for me. She was switching from Spanish to English, telling me about her day, and I found it so easy to communicate with her, as if we were friends and had been for a long time. She called me when she got back and the excitement only grew. I drove the truck to the cabin and took Beck's car. I didn't mind driving the truck with the camper, but it seemed awkward for a first date. I drove along the river following the directions on the phone. There were few houses and the road ran along the river. The phone told me to turn onto a paved path, but there was a gate in front of me. There was no house in sight, but I noticed a call button on the numeric keypad. I pressed it and waited a second. Hola, ¿eres tú, Barnes? It was Nita's voice. ¿Lo es? Tu acompañante ha llegado, I said. She laughed. I am very pleased at your arrival and feel you will be a delightful companion. I will see you off. The gate opened and I drove down the driveway. It was maybe 2 miles long, with all the different branches, and I was wondering if I was lost when I saw the house. The woman lived in a huge, sprawling mansion. It stood on a steep cliff overlooking the river, and the view was spectacular. I rang the doorbell, and within a minute, a young girl opened the door. She was gorgeous and looked to be about 12 or 13 years old. I saw an older woman standing in the back of the entryway. She held out her hand and said, "Greetings, Sir Barnes. I am Pia. Nita is my mother. La llevas a cenar, no?" I'm very happy to meet you, Pia, I said in Spanish. I see that you look a lot like your mother. You are as beautiful as she is. Do you speak English? She developed the same delightful blush I had seen on her mother. Yes, I speak English, Spanish, and French, she said. I know English better than French. I'm sure you're good at all of them, I said. Yeah, I want to take your mom out to dinner. Is that okay with you? She gave me a critical look. Yes, you are, as they say, very caloric for a man with insanity. I laughed. You're a little flatterer. And I'm not old. She giggled again, quite like her mother. That was really bad, no? Besides, you're Beck's father, and I love her very much. Same thing, I said. Taking my hand, she led me through the entrance and into a large open space. It was the living room, dining room, and kitchen. This is Zanetta, she said, introducing me to the older woman. Nice to meet you, I said. She's my friend and takes care of me and the house when Mom's not here, she explained. Mom's getting ready. Would you like a drink, Mr. Barnes, while we wait? What do you suggest? I asked. I drink lemonade, she said. We also have a lot of juices and adult beverages. Lemonade sounds delicious, I said. You don't need to call me Mr. Pia. Just Barnes is fine. Yes, just Barnes, she said, her huge brown-black eyes flashing at me, full of laughter. That name seems very strange, though. That cheered me up. You're a doll, I told her. And a jokester. She chuckled. Yes, I love to laugh. We'll have lemonade on the back porch, Zanetta. I'll go and pour it, just Barnes. She giggled again. Stay here. Ve with your invitee, Pia. Lo conseguiré. No need to despair, Zanetta said. It's all right, I said. I'll go with Pia and I won't neglect her. We took tall glasses of cold lemonade and carried them into the living room. The entire south wall was glass, the doors sliding open, and she led me out, still holding her small hand in mine. We went out onto the porch, down the stairs, and onto a huge mahogany deck. There were large vine-covered beams suspended from large leaf-shaped fans that rotated slowly, giving us a stunning view of the river and valley. I really like it here, Pia said. We'll sit in these chairs and have a conversation. She was one hell of a charming girl. I've only had one conversation with your mom, I said. Personally, I mean. Somehow the subject of Pia never came up. She was no doubt embarrassed to have such an impressive daughter, she said. She never tells anyone about me for fear they will like me more than she does. We were both laughing about it when Zanetta appeared, carrying a pitcher of lemonade. Thank you, Zanetta, we said at the same time, making Pia giggle again. I see you are one of those who steal other people's thoughts, she said. Yeah, I told her. Everyone around me wears tinfoil hats. I think we have some, she said. Should I warn my mom? No, I said. I need to know what she's thinking to make her happy by doing this. She tilted her head, pondering. It's a very good plan, she said. Barnes has perfected it. Well, this is my first date in years, I said. I need any advantage I can get. Say, Pia, I want to spend days and days talking to you, but do you think your mom will be ready soon? Mom really likes to show up socially, she said. I expect her to show up so you can admire her anytime. Thank you for that remark, Pia. I heard that voice, low, husky, tinged with the smoke of old jazz clubs and red wine. We turned around and a vision appeared at the top of the stairs. God, she was breathtaking, heart-stopping. She was perfect in white. The dress was pure white linen, very simple and elegant. Some lace at the neckline, hanging beautifully to mid-thigh, sleeveless, with smooth, swarthy skin exposed above and below. On her feet were tan platform sandals with straps on her calves. She wore a wide-brimmed white hat on her head and posed to impress. See? Pia brought me out of my stupor. You're very pretty, Mom. Don't you agree, Barnes? I had to clear my throat before I could speak. Yes, of course. Nita, you're gorgeous! She smiled. I see you've met the pre-call. Yes, and it was, I said. Pia, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I hope to see you many more times. You are a charming lady! I finished my lemonade and walked over to extend my hand to my companion. Somehow you never mentioned to me that you had this little beauty, I said. I wanted her to be a surprise, she said. I thought that when you met her, you couldn't help but love her. I know you love your daughters, and I wanted you to love mine. She's my life, Barnes. Yes, I can see that, and I understand why, I said. The restaurant was as good as I had heard. My companion was beyond competitive, and 3 doors away was an establishment called Salon Tenampa. It was a real treat. There was a stage and the biggest mariachi band I had ever seen. It was a riot of colors and music, and I danced with Nita. It was a separate adventure because she was the best dancer I had ever seen. She made me make a huge effort to at least get close to her. She knew everything from traditional Mexican dances to salsa and tango. The last number we stayed for was slow and sweet, and holding this fiery beauty in my arms was something men performed heroic feats for. The trip back to her place went mostly without my participation. I was in a world where it was just her and me. It ended at her door, where she kissed me, and that was the highlight of my life up to that point. Before I left, I was invited to take Beck with me and spend the day with Nina and Pia the following Saturday. She let me take the snap to send Beck and reached out to touch my cheek with one soft palm, running her fingertips over the marks, making me feel a sense of euphoria, and left. Sylvia called me Tuesday afternoon. Dad, when would be a good time for me to hang out with you and Beck? She asked. How about 8 tonight our time? I'm having dinner at her place and she should be free by then. Nice. Could you ask her and send me a snap? I can do it, I said. Is something wrong, dear? No, not really. It's no big deal and you don't have to worry. I just need to talk to you. I need to talk to you all the time, I told her. She laughed. Send me that snap. Love you, Daddy. Love my girl, I said. Beck was fine with it, and we were sitting in her living room when we got the notice. After the usual conversation, she moved on to what she wanted to talk about. Dad, Beck, I hate living here without you. I'm tired of dating assholes, as you so politely call my boyfriends. I hate my job, and my mom makes me miserable when I'm around her. I want to move there. Really? Beck was beyond excited. That would be out of the question, Sylvia. Do you think you could get a job? I think I've already bought one, she said. I'm going to buy the travel agency that books the cabins on the lake. They book your place too, Beck. Wow, you've really studied this, haven't you? Said I. Sylvia, I'd love to have you around, and I know Beck would. Are you sure, darling? Positive, she said. I wanted to talk to you guys first in case you didn't. Don't want me? She sobbed slightly, and it broke my heart. Sylvia, I'm so sorry I made you doubt that, I said. I love you, baby. I'll always want you no matter what as long as I live. Syl, I know we had a little fight about Mom, Beck said. I love you too. You're my big sister. You spanked Jamie Myers for picking on me when I was in first grade. This elicited a slight watery giggle from Sylvia. I did, didn't I? He was a creep and bullied my little sister. When do you think you'll put it all together? I asked. It might take me a month or two, she said. But I've already gotten to work. It's so exciting, Beck says. I can't wait. We talked for another hour, and it seemed like it was done. Sitting in the camper that night, I thought about how my life was turning out. It seemed like I was going from one peak to the next. Beck had moved in, met Nita, who I hoped would be a big part of my life, and now Sylvia was moving in too? Couldn't be better. On Friday, I asked Nita if she wanted me to bring anything. Beck tells me you make a very tasty pico, she said. Bring it over. I went to the market, bought some nice fresh ingredients, and made a big bowl. On Saturday, we took the truck to Nita's. I wondered what Nita and Pia would think of it. After all, they were clearly not poor. Neither was I, and it wasn't that I couldn't afford a house. It was my choice, and I liked it. But would they think I was a tramp or something? That's something we'll find out. Pia ran out as we pulled up and threw herself at Beck as soon as he got out. She came over to me and was a little more reserved, but still hugged me. We're going to the river, she said. Mommy made everything for the taco feast. Yum, Beck said. Sounds great. Come inside, Pia said. Mama and Zanetta are packing. She took us both by the hands and led us inside. We walked into the kitchen where there were several coolers and baskets on the bar. They were busy putting plastic bowls and utensils into the baskets and drinks into the coolers. We helped and everything was quickly ready. Barnes brought his truck, Pia said. He'll be perfect for transporting us. The way she phrased it made me laugh. What a delightful girl. We loaded into the car, Beck and Pia climbing into the back seat. Nita sat in the front with me, and we drove down the driveway, making a few turns as she pointed. It's good to have you with us, I said. I would never have found my way out of here. She laughed. There are several places you can go, she said. There are buildings on these roads for different functions. What kind of buildings? Beck asked. Horse barns, equipment barns, storage barns, livestock barns, paddocks, and things like that, Nita says. We walked to the river. There was a gazebo and dock, and 3 jet skis and cradles sticking out of the water. There were 2 picnic tables and a grill under the gazebo. I was planning to heat everything up on the grill, Nita said. But you brought your house and we can use your stove, right? We can, I said. All the comforts of home in a small package. I'd really like to look inside, Pia said. I've never been in a house like this. Well, I'll give you the grand tour, I said. We put the taco shells in the oven to get crispy and I gave them a tour. Pia got to lay on my bed, sit on all the chairs, and check out every appliance. She and Beck carried a load of our stuff to the tables, and I took the opportunity to grab Nita and kiss her. She was in complete agreement and lit me up with one of the hottest kisses of my life. She pulled away and looked into my eyes, her swarthy complexion colored with a pink blush, and she was slightly out of breath. Hello, beautiful, I said. I couldn't wait for you to be alone and do this. She chuckled. Well, it's encouraging to know you wanted it. I wanted it too, she whispered. Beck and Pia came back and we made our late lunch. They were all bragging about my pico, but it was all very good. We sat and chatted for about an hour, and then Pia asked if we wanted to go jet skiing. The girls were wearing shorts and t-shirts and went to change. Pia came out first and chatted with me while I looked at the system that raised and lowered the jet skis. Beck and Nita went outside, and I went inside and put on my swim trunks. When I came out, one jet ski was already in the water, and we quickly launched the other 2. Can I come with you, Barnes? Asked Pia. I'd love to, I said. Don't you drive them? I want to, she said. Maybe we'll switch, I'll drive, and Mom will go with you after a while. Beck and Nita took off their stoles, and I lost my ability to move for a moment. I knew Nita was a spectacular woman, but I was a little unprepared for her being in a bikini. It wasn't out of the ordinary, but she was. Beck was Beck. She always remained petite and gorgeous and a little girl. Nita was something else. She was shapely, but not in the way that people sometimes mean when they talk about fat. She was far from that, but she had hips, a small waist, and big full tits. Her top was solid up to her nipples, and the bottom third was striped, giving a view of her lower chest. This top was very comfortable to wear with such lush tits. She caught my gaze, and suddenly twin bumps appeared in the top. She blushed and crossed her arms over them. Ready? She asked. We did, and Pia climbed in after me. I noticed that the jet ski they had chosen for me had 30 more horsepower and was longer. We let Nita go ahead since I figured she knew the river. We traveled upstream for about 5 miles. We drove under the bridge and around a bend, and then Nita slowed down. She pointed to a small cliff to the east, and we followed it. There was a path along the cliff, and when I looked where she was pointing, I noticed a rope attached high up in a tree. We shut down the engines. Do you want to swing on the rope? She asked. Pia was practically jumping at my back. Yes, we have to, she said. It's so much fun. You'll swing high above the river, then you'll untie yourself from the rope and fall. The water is very deep. In my opinion, it wasn't very comfortable, but I would give it a try, and Beck clearly didn't mind. Nita was knee-deep in water, holding onto the jet ski as we made our way to the top of the sheer cliff. Who wants to go first? I asked. Beck should go, Pia decided. I've been there and I want to see her. Beck grasped the rod woven into the rope. Hang on, honey, I told her. She nodded, and with a slight yelp, she swung across the river. It was the biggest swing I'd ever seen. I have no idea how far she swung, but at apogee she must have been about 15 feet high. She fell and disappeared. She surfaced, tossing her hair back and wiping the water from her eyes, and swam back to Nita. Oh my God, Daddy. That was fire. You have to go. I decided that Pia should go next, and she soared into the air like a little bird, flipping in the air in a leap. She was a real little athlete. She swam like a little otter, and she and Beck held the jet skis while Nita climbed in with me. I let her go, and she was as graceful as she was at everything and let out a cute squeal as she took off. It was my turn. Looking down was 3 times higher than looking up, and my chicken jeans were screaming at me. I couldn't let a 12-year-old girl show me up, so I forced myself off the cliff. I was falling toward my death, the rope swinging me down, and I was so much longer than the girls that my toes only lightly touched the surface before I rushed upward. I almost forgot to let go of my hands, but came to my senses and plunged into the cool depths. It was fun. Nita and I sat on the jet skis and watched Beck and Pia ride 3 more times. Pia decided she wanted to drive. We drove back, lifted the jet skis out of the water and sat in the sun, holding cool drinks and enjoying the rays. Toward evening, we packed up and headed back to the house. We thanked them for a wonderful day. She invited me to stay and eat, which I did. How are you feeling, Daddy? She asked. Pretty good. A little tired, I said. There's something about sun and water that wears you out. Right? She said. But that's not what I meant. I mean about Nita. And about Pia. Well, Pia is a little doll. It's impossible not to like her. And Nita, well, I've developed feelings I never knew I had, I said. She makes me happy just being around her. She's so damn beautiful, Beck. You know that, but she's so much more than that. She's a wonderful, warm person. She's funny. She's smart. She's obviously a great mom. She's independent. She's everything any man could want. I know I definitely want her. She seems to like me too. She feels the same way you do, she said. She told me she thinks you might be the one. There can only be one, said I. She laughed. Yeah, just make sure it's you. I had to put a lot of effort into it. Don't screw it up. I'll do my best, I said. Thanks, Beck. Now how about you get busy with yourself? You need love in your life. Yeah, I have to start working on it, she said. I've just been really busy with work, but my eyes are open. I hugged my baby girl and drove to my house. Nita and I started seeing each other 2 or 3 times a week. A few times I picked Pia up and took her fishing. A couple of times she asked me to go water skiing with her when Nita was away on business, and I took her to the Cinco de Mayo festivities. I fell in love with this girl as I had with my own daughters. By the time 4 months had passed, I had fallen completely in love with Nita. When we were together, I was happier than I had ever been in my life. When we were apart, thoughts of her filled my head and dreamed about her at night. I lived in anticipation of the next time we could be together and missed her every minute of our separation. We texted constantly. She started using Snapchat, and every message had her picture in it. We kissed at the end of every date, and I wanted her in every way. I was very careful. This little lady was special, and I wanted every move to be perfect. Beck fell in love with her, and Sylvia, when she arrived, fell in love with her too. The 4 of them, Nita, Pia, Beck, and Sylvia, were always doing something together. Sometimes it was me, and sometimes it was just the girls. On Monday, I called Nita and told her I would like to take her to Tulum for the weekend. She called me back immediately. Really? I've never been there, but I've heard it's gorgeous and has Mayan ruins. She was in Los Mochis, and I told her I would drive there and we could fly out of there. What about Pia? She asked. Is it just for the 2 of us, or do you have a plan for her? I was planning on taking her with me, I said. I was going to see if Beck and Sylvia could come too. Make it a family celebration of sorts. She was silent for a moment. Barnes, I'm very touched that you consider Pia and me family. You are a very good man. I'll be glad of that, and I hope Sylvia and Beck can come. They are very much like my daughters, you know. I know they love you very much, I said. And they love Pia too. Do you love me very much? she asked. I was taken aback for a moment, but quickly came to my senses. Nita, I want to tell you everything in person, not over the phone, okay? Yes, I understand. I apologize for asking you over the phone. We will go to Tulum and I will ask you again, in person. I laughed. I can see I'm not getting out of this situation. I checked the flights. One leaves at 3 in the afternoon. Will you be able to leave by then? I'll arrange it, she said. Ride carefully with my daughters. It turned out that Sylvia and Beck could go, and Pia was over the moon when I told her that. We loaded into the car and set off on the long drive, and it was one of the best trips of my life. Pia sat in the back seat with Beck and served as our official DJ. We took turns picking out songs. I hated them, mostly, and they groaned and rolled their eyes when I made my choices. We picked up Nita from her apartment and took a truck to the airport. There were no problems, and we flew through friendly skies. Everything in Tulum was as promised by Sylvia, and I was glad she knows her stuff as a travel agent. She suggested one of the all-inclusive packages. Our hotel was on the beach and was luxurious. On Saturday, we walked on the beach, played in the blue water, and in the evening we went to an open-air restaurant. Beck and Sylvia said they wanted to take Pia to the beach party and informed us that she would be staying in their room that night. They left, and Nita and I were left alone. We walked back to the hotel and I put my arms around her, pulling her tightly against me. Well, that wasn't suspicious at all. I think we were set up, Nita. She laughed. I think you're right. Do you object, Barnes? Not if you don't, I said. I love it if you do. I'm quite content, she said. I took her to my room and made us drinks. We sat down on the small couch and she snuggled up against me. Nita, you asked me if I love you. I want to tell you, I love you more than I ever dreamed I would. From the moment I met you, I have thought of nothing else but you. You have filled my heart, my mind, my life. I love you so much. She raised her head and looked into my eyes, deep, almost black, full of fire and emotion. That makes Nita very happy, she said. I love you, Barnes. After Emiliano died, I didn't know if I could ever love again. I grieved for a long time, but now I have you, and you own my heart. My heart belongs to you, she said again. I want to give you the rest of me, too. Oh my God, Nita. I wanted this from the first time I saw you, I said. You're the most gorgeous woman I've ever met. I didn't mean to scare you off. I'm not afraid, she said. The only thing scary would be if you didn't love me, didn't want me. Am I crazy? I asked. I'd have to be crazy not to love you and not want you. God, Nita, don't ever doubt it. You're the most desirable woman I've ever seen. I can't believe there aren't thousands of men standing at your gate trying to find an entrance every day. She chuckled. I don't need thousands of men. Just one. After our dialogues, we made love and went to bed. I woke to the sun streaming through the gap in the curtain and my dusky goddess sleeping in my arms. She looked so beautiful in her sleep, calm, peaceful, innocent. As we dozed in languid satiety, someone knocked on the door. Come back with a warrant, I shouted. From behind the door came a woman's giggle. Daddy, let us in. It was Beck. I threw on my robe, and Nita pulled the blanket over herself. All three girls rushed into the house, pushing a cart loaded with breakfast. They parked the cart, and Beck and Sylvia rushed to the bed and pounced on Nita, laughing and talking nonstop. I sat down in the chair, and Pia came and sat on my lap, wrapped her arms around my neck, and waves of her midnight hair swirled above us. You love her, don't you? She said. Love you, and I love you too, I said, hugging that little body tightly. I love you, she said. I knew you loved us. Mommy is in love with you. I asked her, and she told me. I want to be your daughter like Beck and Sylvia, she said. I couldn't help myself. Tears of happiness and love rolled down my cheeks like a river, and I clung to her as hard as I could. I'm honored that you feel this way about me, sweet bug, I said. I'm going to try very hard to be everything you need me to be for you. Are you marrying Mom? She asked. So we can be a real family, you know? I looked back at Nita and the girls. They were all looking at me expectantly. There's nothing in the world I want more, I said, but I think I should talk to your mom about it, just the two of us, and I'm not ready right now. I leaned toward her and whispered. I don't have a ring. Ah, she said. Yes, I understand. We had breakfast and then hurried downstairs to catch the shuttle to the Mayan ruins. It was an impressive, awe-inspiring sight, and the fact that under one arm I had a gorgeous woman looking at me with love in her eyes, and on the other side I was being held by the hand of a little brown girl who was sometimes substituted for one of my daughters, made it even more special. We flew back Monday morning, tired, happy, and with indelible memories. We dropped Nita off. She had 2 more days of work to do, and I took the girls ring shopping. There were mostly small stores where jewelers made their own pieces, and we found an elderly gentleman from the Cajita tribe who made exquisite jewelry. He had a large collection of stones, among which was a red-orange fire opal, which all the girls liked very much. I don't think it would make a good engagement ring, I complained. We need diamonds, for example. No, Mom would be thrilled, Pia said. She told me she was finding diamonds, como se dice, insípido. We all laughed. Pretty much the same, Sylvia said. Doesn't make sense. Did she really say that? Yes, several times, Pia said. See, Dad? She'll love it, Beck insisted. I let them talk me into it, and we compromised by setting 4 small diamonds around it. The jeweler said he could make it in 2 weeks and send it to me. When I got it, all I had to do was pick a time and place. I told Nita I wanted to come and go back to that little gazebo by the river. I think she knew what it was about, but she just told me to come. She was free. We took her quad bike, and it was a perfect evening. Pia was very curious, and when I told her what I was doing, she had to hurriedly retreat to her room to avoid giving herself away in her excitement. I knelt down in the gazebo, and when Nita noticed it, her hand went to her mouth. I took her hand and said, Nita, I am not good at speeches, but I love you with all my heart. I don't want to live without you in my life. I don't want to live without Pia either. Will you marry me? I will do everything in my power so that you never regret your consent. I opened the box and she held out her hand. I put the ring on and she said, Yes, Barnes. I want so much to be your wife. I want to love you always. She raised her hand, admiring the ring. I can't believe you have a fire opal, she said. It's my favorite stone. A little birdie told me, I said. I think I know that bird, she said, her eyes filling with tears of happiness. When we got back to the house, Pia was already waiting for us and was running from one to the other in excitement. I can't believe it. You're going to be my father, Barnes. Suddenly, she burst into tears. I knelt down and hugged her slender figure. I thought this would make you happy, baby girl. She pressed herself against me. Yeah, I was hoping. I thought we'd never find anyone. You found me, I told her. I'll never let you go, Pia. She clung to me and sobbed for a few minutes while I hugged her, then pulled away again. It's such a fire. I laughed. You've been hanging out with Beck too much. You're starting to sound like her. She chuckled. She's teaching me a lot of good words. We set the date for December 5th, and I was the happiest person in the world when Nita walked down the aisle in gold. She said she had been in white before and this was new, so she was breaking tradition. I moved in with her, but she insisted we keep the camper. We might want to go on a long vacation, she said. We'll use it, I promise. I took it off the truck and put it on stands. We used the truck for its intended purpose, and it was much more comfortable without the camper. I don't think I was ever happy. The only hitch came when in the 2nd year of our marriage, Sylvia came to me and said she needed to talk. We were sitting on the deck, and she mustered up the courage. Mommy wants to come visit, she said. I sighed. Well, I guess it was bound to happen sooner or later, honey. When is she coming? She wants to come for Christmas, she said. Sylvia, what do you want, dear? I asked. She found it difficult to answer. I wanted to spend Christmas here with you. I know Beck is staying here, and I was going to stay too. Now I have to spend at least part of Christmas with my mom. Beck doesn't want to, so I'm staying with her. I still love her, Dad. I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but I remember the way she was. Everything she did for me and what we did together. I pulled her to me and squeezed her. I know you are, Syl. I'm not disappointed in the slightest. I'm proud of you. She cried a little and I hugged her. It's going to be okay. I know it's not what you wanted, but what is. You can still spend time here. It's going to be hard, but you can tell your mom that you already have plans for Christmas dinner. She'll have to deal with it. It's her fault, not yours. It's hard, she said. I'm going to have to deal with it. I just wanted you to know. What if she wants to talk to you, to see you? Let me talk to Nita, I said. She's smarter than me. Let's see what she has to say. Sylvia spent the rest of the day with me and Pia, and before she left, we had dinner together. Nita was in Los Mochis for 2 more days, and I broached the subject when she returned home. We sat on the sofa looking at the fire in the fireplace, and I told her about Sylvia's visit and her news. She sipped her wine and stared thoughtfully into the fire for several minutes. What do you think of meeting her, Barnes? I've been asking myself that question, I said. I suppose it was inevitable. She's the girl's mother, and I guess without thinking, I knew she'd want to see them at some point. I don't really have any special feelings for her, Nita. I don't think about her. I loved her for years. We had a lot of great times, but she ruined it all, and the good times are kind of colored by the way it ended. She snuggled closer and rested her cheek against my arm. I think we should all have dinner together at the cabin, she said. I want to get to know her, Barnes. Find out what she's like. Really? I asked. Yes, she has been a part of your life for many years. She's been a part of Sylvia and Beck's life. I can go and meet her myself. It made me nervous, but Nita was her own person and did what she thought was best. She was very independent and made me nervous a lot of times, but she went with the flow, never once faltering. I knew when Collins arrived. She lived in Beck's cabin, and I saw both girls less often after she arrived. I assumed they were spending time with her. Nita did go to meet her, though, and if there were any fireworks going on, there was no mention of them. I asked Nita what she thought. I like her, she said. Really? Yes. I think she's changed a lot, she said. Sylvia and Beck agree. She's become autoreflective, introspective. She's become very friendly with us. Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? I asked. I think so, she said. We were talking about you. God, I hope you weren't listening, I said. She laughed. Of course. I want to know about you. She didn't say anything bad, only good. I snorted. I'll just argue. She smiled. Well, she didn't admire your intransigence, of course. Right, I said. Well, anyway, I guess there was nothing wrong with that. You're still snuggled up to me. No, it's nothing, she said. I adore you, Barnes. That's never going to change. Pia came in and snuggled up to us, and I hugged both of my dusky princesses. 2 days before Christmas, it rained like hell, and the river rose into a raging torrent. We had to go down and save the dock, carrying it up 3 times overnight. The water blew down 2 sections of our fence, and I got up early Christmas morning, and one of our laborers helped me fix the fence. We ate at 2 o'clock, and I finished about noon. I expected Sylvia and Beck to have arrived by now. We were going to open presents after dinner, and the tree was almost covered with packages. I came back, but no one was in the house, so I took a shower and changed my clothes. When I was ready, I went to look for the girls. They were gone, although Sylvia's car was parked there. I made a spiced rum punch and a jug of spiced cider, put them on the heat, and drank the rum punch. The perfect Christmas drink, I thought. I heard voices at the entrance, and the door swung open. Pia ran into the house and took the seat next to me. Davy came in and lay across our legs, sighing contentedly, and then snored, approving of the world at large. That smells so good, Pia said. What is it? It's rum punch, I said. Can I try? I let her take a sip, and she wrinkled her cute little nose. You, she said. It smells so much better than it tastes. I laughed. It's an acquired taste, kiddo. I also made spiced cider. Go get yourself a cup. She took one, and then Beck walked in. She noticed the pleasant smell too, but it turned out she really liked rum punch. Sylvia came in, and then my jaw dropped as Nita walked in, holding Collins's hand. They both saw the look on my face, and Nita hurried over to me. Don't be angry, Barnes. Collins didn't have anywhere to go. No one should be alone on Christmas, so I called and invited her. I wasn't angry, but I wasn't happy either. Nita lifted me to my feet and dragged me across the room to Collins. Collins wants to talk to you, she informed me. Take her to the study. I led her over to the counter and offered her a cider or punch. She took a cup of hot cider and we walked to the office. Nita, Pia, and I had chairs, so I sat in mine and she took Nita's. You look good, Barnes, she said. Thanks, you too, I said. She did too. Still hot as hell and looked like she'd lost a little weight, even though she didn't need to. She nodded. I need to apologize to you, Barnes, she said. I was a total bitch and I know it. I only had my eyes on myself and what I wanted. I know I disrespected you, and it's led to consequences I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. I need you to forgive me. I know I don't deserve it, but I hope you're still the man I married and you'll give me what I don't deserve. I'd thought it through. I'm not going to make any big speeches, I told her. There were consequences, and one of them was releasing me to gain what I have now. I was destroyed, bitter and resentful. Now I'm not. I know you did, she said, and I'm sorry I caused that pain. I took a deep breath and took a sip of punch. I forgive you, I said. You know Nita and Pia. That girl is dear to me, Collins. Sylvia and Beck love her. She's their little sister. They love Nita too, and she has become something of a big sister to them. You'll always be their mother, Collins. You are welcome here anytime. Nita told me she likes you. The girls say you've changed. That's good. I hope you live a happy life. I'm going to, and if you can accept that, I'll think well of you. Can we be friends? She asked. We'll see, I said. But you'd better not engage in nonsense. She laughed. No, I won't. You've landed on your feet, Barnes. I'm still trying to find mine. Nita knocked on the door. We're ready to eat, she said. We sat down at the big table. Pia said grace, and the air was filled with laughter and the sound of happy voices. I looked across the table at Nita. She smiled at me and winked. Pia was sneaking bits and pieces to Davy, who was worshipping at her altar. My daughters chatted nonstop, and Collins was animated and seemed to be enjoying himself. It seemed like it was going to be a good Christmas. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. So subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.